Leeds has no room for racism. Leeds has no place for abuse. And that's why I believe we should always remember David Oluwale.
I think it's absolutely necessary. I think it's absolutely something that will be, it's people of Leeds saying that, this is a part of their history that they claim and that they want to do something about. So I think a blue plaque to mark the life of David Oluwale is something that we should all welcome.
And so to have a plaque for Oluwale, is the perfect way for the city to show that it acknowledges all its residents and those that were considered, in the 1960s as being out of place here. And we're now saying that we're a city that welcomes people like Oluwale.
David Oluwale came to Leeds in 1949. He worked rebuilding post-war Leeds City in the dirtiest and most backbreaking jobs available until 1953. For the next 10 years or more, he was in psychiatric hospital after being arrested by the police at the King Edward Hotel. He was defined as being mentally ill, and 10 years in psychiatric hospital did him no favors whatsoever. For most of the 1960s, he was sleeping rough or in places of no fixed abode. This is the place where David Oluwale was last seen sleeping on the 18th of April 1969. Sometime around 2 or 3 in the morning, police officers testified that they saw their inspector, a man called Elliker, and Sergeant Kitching go into this premises here, and they heard the sound of David Oluwale being beaten by these 2 senior Leeds police officers. David was seen coming out of here, pursued by the officers, towards the river.
Where I'm standing here is actually right near the entry point to where David Oluwale was hounded into the water. So it's actually very sort of poignant to be here because you feel that history very much present in the space. And this is why it's so important for us to have a plaque to remember David Oluwale. Now, the criteria for plaques used to be that it was around more positive stories, and we needed to celebrate important people. Now, if we only celebrate people that we consider to be important and stories that we only consider to be positive, we actually fail to acknowledge the past.
The purpose of the Blue Plaque scheme is to recognise and mark people, places and events that have a significance to the City of Leeds, or indeed have broader significance. They may have an international or a national significance. So we remember the great and the good, Victorian mill owners, there are plenty of those, but actually we're keen increasingly to recognise stories that maybe people aren't familiar with or haven't been expressed in public in the past, or expressed in physical form with a blue plaque. So David Oluwale is very much in that vein. A story that some people may be familiar with, but many won't be. It's
going to be a landmark in the city, and it's going to be a landmark of this person that lived, and obviously the intersections of the things that happened to him, racism, mental health, homelessness, migration. These are themes that we think are important, and these are things that we think can be improved. And I think the plaque will be just an educational tool. Kids in this city will be able to come and see it. People from the community, and it could be a start and lead point for walks and historical walks, heritage walks. It's just really important that this city recognises this is somebody who lived here, who experienced life here, and that his story mattered, his life mattered.
David Oluwale was a citizen of Leeds. David Oluwale was a young man who came to Leeds in pursuit of another life from his country, Nigeria. David Oluwale suffered severe mental health. David Oluwale was homeless, just like so many that we have in our city today.
One of the things that we can do as a city, I think, is to grow and to learn from the past, and this is what's so important. We need to move forward into a more positive future, and we can only do that by acknowledging the wrongs of what went before us.
It's here in Leeds Town Hall, where the Crown Court was situated, a town hall that's redolent and symbolic of the empire-led prosperity of the city of Leeds, that Elliker and Kitching are on trial in November 1971. The investigating officer said they should be charged with murder. The Crown prosecution said it should be reduced to manslaughter, and they were charged with manslaughter, grievous bodily harm and actual bodily harm of David Oluwale. The significant fact is that Ellicott and Kitching were both imprisoned for relatively short times, and that's why we say a modicum of justice was achieved.
So it's absolutely important that his story is told, that Leeds people can see that, you know, this is what happened on their doorstep, this is part of their history, and to hopefully inspire them to continue to fight and continue to improve.
It's very easy to think of the Oluwale story as a story of victimisation and David Oluwale as solely a victim. But it's really important for us to remember that actually he resisted Sergeant Ellicott and Kitchen, who continually tried to hound him out the city, and he always found his way back to his doorway. So there was a tenacity and a stubbornness, and I think that these are acts of resistance by David. He refused to be cast out of the city. He wanted to claim some of that city space for himself. And I think it's wonderful to see that today, you know, this is a city that welcomes people.
Leeds is a welcoming city. Leeds is a multicultural city, and Leeds is a city of compassion. For that singular cause, we remember David Oluwale.